So this was the last thing that I could think of to put out as like a talking point for Pride Month. It seems like there is very much a connection between anime and those that are part of the Alphabet Soup Committee. It's a lot of letters these days, and I don't want to miss out on any of them, so I figure if I say Alphabet Soup, that's going to cover all my bases. So, I figure I'll throw out a few theories as to why. The first one, maybe if you're more of a conspiracy theorist, perhaps it's the idea that it's an invasion force to try to make sure that what seems more like a Western adjacent culture starts to become a lot more Westerner. This is not really a theory I go for myself, but, well, there's enough people that get into the hobby like that there's even a name for them. Tourists. I think probably the biggest grounds for the connection would just have to be within two distinct genres, the Yuri and the Yaoi. These are not really genres that I know a whole lot about, so I'm going to be very brief on this subject. But simply put, it's the idea of boy love and girl love, which over here in the West, or at least where I am in the States, our general moral compass came from the Puritans. Now, if you might have fallen asleep during history class, the Puritans were a very, very religious group of people. So much so that the Church of England was like, you know what, your views are too extreme. Why don't you just take a boat to the other side of the world and, maybe they'll fall off because the earth is flat. But later they ended up finding the United States, and a lot of what the Puritans set up is very much ingrained within our American culture. So as such, there is a bit more of a intense regulation as to what is considered morally acceptable. Now, I don't think I really have the authority to talk much on where the base of Japanese culture is. But, at least going off of media representation, it feels like there's a lot less backlash in the world of anime if you have two people of the same gender kissing or making out with each other, as opposed to here in the States, where if it's a popular enough show, you might even end up getting members of the church as well as even members of the government involved saying that such a heinous act needs to be shut down. Now, it's pretty rare, but there have been a few instances of anime that tackle more of trans characters, something I'm a bit more on the personal side of. Now, I know such a thing has very much been under scrutiny as of late, with a lot of creators coming forward saying, hey, this character is or isn't trans. They just like to be more on the feminine side of things. But, regardless of the particular label, I think it's really the experience that a lot of people latch onto. But one of the things that I love about anime myself is the idea of how they're able to handle strong female characters. I feel like over here in the West, beauty is seen as a weakness. The idea that if you want a strong woman, they have to be kind of ugly, which, in all honesty, I feel like that is kind of a misogynist way to look at it. The idea that a woman can't be strong unless they are manly. Now, you may potentially be going to this cover of Ghost in the Shell here. The idea that our main character has a rather boyish-looking haircut. But in a debate that seems to be reignited as of late, I would put her in the category of tomboy. In fact, that's one of the things I find interesting. I feel like there aren't too many people that say that about Faye from Cowboy Bebop. And, well, take a look at Fujiko there. Rather short hair. But yet, there is strength, few beauty. And that's one of the things that I personally like about anime, is the idea that there can be strong, beautiful women. And probably one of the best examples that I don't really have a copy of is, as far as I know, it's only ever been released on Laserdisc and very limited quantity DVDs, is an OVA called Desert Rose. Basically, imagine a story from the Expendables, but instead, it's starring all women. However, given our more Western mentality and such a thing, that would probably sound terrible. But believe me when I say it's well done here. The idea that even though all the women in this OVA are pretty, they're also forces to be reckoned with. And I think maybe that's the last thing I'll end upon as well, is if ever there are characters that fit under the umbrella of the alphabet soup, it feels a lot less checking off a box, less performative even. I feel like, at least with recent media, if there ever is like a strong female character, it's really something that's kind of shoved in your face, rather than just the characters existing as they are. The biggest thing that I love anime for myself is, for the most part, it is hand-drawn animation. An art form that I feel has been severely lacking since, well, the furthest I can think is probably The Princess and the Frog by Disney. They were always a big powerhouse in terms of 2D animation, but ever since they closed the doors, and maybe you get like a few hand-drawn animated shows here and there, I feel like it's just not really up to the same quality that we get in the East. And I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons as well as to what the appeal of anime is for the Rainbow Alliance. But these are the big ones that I can come up with. I'd be curious to hear yours. Until next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.